Ladies and gentlemen, about a month ago, immediately after Night of Champions, I made my SummerSlam 2025 match card predictions. And now that the majority of the SummerSlam card has been confirmed, it is time to go back to that video to see how good or how bad my predictions ultimately were. Usually I would be making this video a little bit later on, and you are still going to be seeing it later on, but I'm having to record it much earlier than I typically would because my editor is going on vacation. So it's possible that we could still have more matches added to the SummerSlam card that I don't know about as of the making of this video. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, we'll go through every match I predicted and we'll see how close or how completely off I was with that prediction. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And don't forget, if you want more than just the daily wrestling content that we do here, come check out the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZab, where you're going to get so much more extra content that we can never upload here because it would just get blocked due to copyright since we use real footage over there. But that's it. I'm done. Let's get into the video. All right, let's start things off by looking at my original World Heavyweight Championship prediction. I predicted that the world champion going into the show would still be Gunther, and I'm going to take like 1 point for this because I technically did have to get this prediction right because when I made this video, his match against Goldberg hadn't happened yet. So there was technically a possibility that this could have been Goldberg instead of Gunther. Now, in terms of the matchup, however, I got this wildly off because I predicted that we would get Gunther versus Sami Zayn versus Jey Uso. And if you go to the comments section of that video, man, people hated that I made this prediction. I didn't want this to be the match, but in my head, it made some logical sense, considering WWE up until this point didn't really like giving like the actual main eventers to Gunther to have matches with for some reason, like the CM Punks of the world, the Seth Rollinses, the Roman Reigns, and there was a story here. The story being that these are the two guys that in the last year had actually been able to dethrone Gunther, and thus Gunther wanted the smoke from both of them to show to the world that no one can beat him. On top of that, I felt like there was an interesting story to be told between Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, two brothers having to clash to win the thing that they both covet, especially Sami Zayn, somebody who's never been able to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm happy to say that this is not the match that they ended up going with. Gunther finally is getting that big main event caliber feud against CM Punk. Jey Uso is busy with Roman Reigns and going up against B&B Security. And right now, Sami Zayn, as of the making of this video, is not on the SummerSlam card, although there's a possibility that he could get on it in a match with Karrion Kross. We'll see. But yeah, this is obviously wildly off. But when I made this prediction, I didn't think it was that crazy that they might go with this. I then tried to predict the Women's Tag Team Championship match. And you have to remember again, I predicted this before Evolution. And I think it's important to note that because when I also made this video, not only did I do it before Evolution, I did it before they had even confirmed there was a Women's Tag Team Championship match at Evolution. So I predicted that we were going to have Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez still your tag team champions. I just didn't think that they would actually get a match at Evolution. They did. They retained, which is good. But funny enough, I made the prediction that they would get a match against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. And I made this prediction during the early days of the Allies of Convenience. They weren't fully friends yet, but I did make the prediction that, hey, this is obviously going to go down the route of these two becoming at least serviceable enough as friends that they could become a tag team. And I know how WWE operates. Anytime that they put two women that are doing nothing, that are main event caliber, they put them together in a stew, make them a tag team, and make them tag team champions. That is like WWE 101. So yes, I got this prediction 100% right, but I also think it was a very obvious prediction to make if you even understand 5% of how WWE operates, because if you can make those connections, it's really easy to see where the tag team titles were going to go. WWE is predictable, but hey, at the end of the day, I think this is the correct match. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair have turned into one of the more over acts in the WWE. They've turned into a pair that I want to see on screen every single week, and it's a good way to get two main eventers on the SummerSlam card while giving a big rub and shine to both Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, and most importantly, those women's tag titles. So I'm glad that I got this right. I'm glad that WWE went with this because I think that this is the correct call. Next up, I tried to predict the United States Championship. I made this video a couple of days after Night of Champions, so yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. After Night of Champions, we had Solo Sikoa as our brand new United States champion. He had just beaten Jacob Fatu for the title. I know that there was kind of like buzz about the possibility of it being Jacob Fatu versus Solo versus Jimmy, or Solo versus Jimmy at SummerSlam for the US title, just to kind of give Jacob Fatu maybe something else to do, time to breathe. But ultimately, they did end up doing Solo versus Jimmy. They just ended up doing it a couple of weeks earlier at Saturday night's main event as opposed to SummerSlam. So there was definitely some credence to the possibility of Solo versus Jimmy, because they did end up doing. But I did ultimately predict that it was going to just be Solo versus Jacob Fatu. I know that WWE tends to be pretty simplistic with this type of stuff, and it was pretty obvious that they were just going to run this back just to give Jacob Fatu another major show to be able to be showcased at, and probably another major show, SummerSlam and WrestleMania, to be able to stand tall with a title. It's so obvious that WWE wants to push Jacob Fatu to the freaking moon, so I knew that he wasn't going to miss SummerSlam in any way, shape, or form, and just going back after the US title was going to be a really simple, run-of-the-mill way to get him on the card. Now, if you do go back and watch that video, I did say, hey, this is too many times that we've had this match already. Up until this point, we need to have a stipulation set. I didn't know what the stipulation was going to be. I did not predict cage match, which I'm pretty excited about the fact that that's going to be the stipulation. A cage match at SummerSlam is a bit of a rarity, but I thought it was going to be more along the lines of, a little mid-card bloodline rules, no holds barred type of deal. But here we are. I did predict Solo versus Jacob for the US title. I did not predict there was going to be a cage match, though. Next up, this is one I got completely off. I tried to predict the Women's Intercontinental Championship picture, and I did predict that Becky Lynch was still going to be the champion by the time that SummerSlam rolled around. Again, I made this a couple of weeks before Evolution, so technically the match between Becky, Lyra, and Bayley had not been confirmed, but in that video, I said that either that triple threat match happens at SummerSlam or it happens at Evolution, and I predicted that it would happen at Evolution instead. And my logic was, okay, if Becky can retain in a triple threat match, that's it. She won. She is able to definitively move on from both Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Bayley and Lyra might go on and have their own feud, maybe even a match at SummerSlam, but now we needed a new opponent for Becky Lynch. That was my thought process. I didn't think that they would just go back to the well of going up against Lyra Valkyria like they ultimately ended up doing. I actually predicted that we were going to have a brand new opponent, and I thought that that brand new opponent would give us a dream match in Becky Lynch versus Stephanie Vaquer. And now that you see this, goddamn, I kind of wish that they did this. Now, I'm not going to complain about another probable match of the year contender, because anything that Lyra and Becky have done this year has been a top 10 match of the year, if you ask me. But Becky Lynch versus Stephanie Vaquer, it might have been the best match of the year had they rolled with something like this. I actually predicted that, hey, maybe at Evolution they do something or have a match or a little mini gauntlet or something to determine who would be the number one contender at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship. Funnily enough, we did have something like that. We had the Battle Royal, and it was for a number one contendership, and Stephanie Vaquer did win it, but it was for the World Championship, and it was for Clash in Paris instead of SummerSlam. Right now, Becky Lynch is already slated to have her match against Lyra Valkyria, and I'm really excited about that. It's no holds barred. Like, there has to be a definitive winner. That's the way that it's been sold as. Meanwhile, Stephanie Vaquer is still a little bit in limbo right now. She is feuding with the Secret Hervis. Nikki Bella is in the picture. Are we going to get Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella teaming up against the Secret Hervis? Or we're going to have both Bellas come back? Is a different third person that we're not expecting going to be part of this team to help Stephanie and Nikki? There's still questions about Stephanie Vaquer, but I sincerely hope that she makes it on the card in some capacity, considering she's your number one contender for a world championship. It's in what is going to be one of WWE's biggest shows, Clash in Paris, because that crowd is going to be insane. But yeah, I still love the idea of this, by the way. I hope that this is an idea that is still circulating somewhere. Somebody in WWE sees this and they fall in love with the idea of Becky Lynch versus Stephanie Vaquer, because this match would rule. Next up, I tried to predict a mid-card match. They were already kind of hinting towards this, but I predicted that we would have Damian Priest on the card. Damian Priest always makes it onto these big shows. WWE loves to feature him in big matches, big shows. I thought it was going to be a no-brainer that a former world champion like Damian Priest, somebody as protected as Damian Priest, would be featured on SummerSlam. I think I got it right. As of the making of this video, again, I'm making this video earlier than I typically would. We don't have this match confirmed, but I think this is where it's going. I think that once the dust settles from the next upcoming episode of SmackDown here in a few days, that I'll be able to say that, yes, okay, we're getting Damian Priest versus Aleister Black. At least I sincerely hope so, because this is actually one of the more intriguing mid-card stories going on Friday Night SmackDown. Everything going on with Damian, Ron Killings, Aleister Black. I feel like with a big name like Damian Priest and somebody as intriguing that fans want to see more of in Aleister Black, I think this is an easy equation that should result in giving us Damian versus Aleister Black. Again, as of the making of this video, this isn't confirmed, but it looks like it's going this way. Maybe let me know down in the comments down below once this video publishes if I got it right or not, because this should publish after this upcoming episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Again, I'm on vacation. It's the reason why there's a bunch of videos where I'm wearing the same thing. I'm not a dirty, gross boy. Next, I tried to predict a match involving Naomi. Now, what I couldn't have predicted, and I don't think anybody properly predicted, was for her to cash in against Io and Rhea Ripley in the World Championship match at Evolution. When I predicted this video, Io versus Rhea wasn't even confirmed. There wasn't even a match that was confirmed. So the likelihood that, you could predict when I made this video that Naomi was going to be world champion was pretty much zero. I predicted that she would still have the briefcase at this point and that she would go on to have a match against a returning Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair did return, returned at Evolution to be the special guest referee, but it doesn't look like she's still medically ready for SummerSlam, so it doesn't look like Bianca is going to be on the card at all. Again, as of the making of this video, this could change in a couple of days in SmackDown. By the time that you already see this could be out of date. I thought this match was like the most logical thing that WWE could do. Again, barring any crazy shenanigans like ended up happening at Evolution. I do think that this match is inevitable somewhere down the line, but we're not going to be getting it at SummerSlam. We do have Naomi in a match at SummerSlam, but it is her defending the Women's World Championship against both Io and Rhea. Again, not in a million years could I have predicted that. Next up, this was the only match that was like properly confirmed, not technically completely, but like we knew that Jade Cargill was going to have a Women's World Championship match because up to this point when I made the video a couple of days after Night of Champions, she had already won the Queen of the Ring tournament, so it was obvious that she was going to be in a World Championship match. Duh. What technically wasn't obvious was the fact that it was going to be Tiffany Stratton because there was still Evolution. Tiffany Stratton could have lost this belt at Evolution. She ended up having what ended up really just being an exhibition match against the legend that is Trish Stratus, so it was pretty easy to assume that she was going to retain. But again, I made this video before that match was even confirmed. But yeah, this is ultimately what we're getting. Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton. WWE didn't deviate. There's no stipulation, just a good old one-on-one match for the WWE Women's Championship. The next match I tried to predict was the Intercontinental Championship, and I was off on this one. I did predict that Dominic Mysterio would still be the champion. I didn't predict the opponent, however. I went with Finn Balor. Here's the thing, all right? The match between Dominic and AJ Styles at Night of Champions got canceled. I'm like, man, there's no story there. I don't know that that's going to have legs to create an interesting enough story going into SummerSlam. I think that they're going to pivot to the story of infighting within the Judgment Day to have a match between Dominic and Finn, but they ended up instead doing Dominic versus AJ Styles in what is currently my favorite like mid-card feud in the WWE. It's so fun seeing the hilarious hijinks that AJ and Dominic Mysterio have been getting up to. So I got this wrong. I got the fact that there's an Intercontinental Championship match correct, that it's going to be a singles match, but of course it's AJ versus Dominic. It looks like Finn Balor might not even be featured on SummerSlam. It's possible that the tag titles get on there, but I sincerely hope that they don't, because they don't deserve to be on the show if you ask me. The next thing that I predicted, again, because I'm having to film this earlier because my editor is on vacation, it's possible that this has been confirmed by the next episode of Friday Night SmackDown, but as of the making of this video, I don't know, but there's a possibility. This is still in play. I'm talking about a a TLC match for the WWE tag team titles, or some sort of ladder match, or some sort of big ass six-pack tag team match at SummerSlam, because this tag team division absolutely deserves it. Now, by the time that I'm making this video, the upcoming episode of Friday Night SmackDown has a tag team championship match between the Wyatt Six and Andrade and Rey Fenix, a match that I think is going to get crashed by a bunch of different teams that I really, really hope ends up with Nick Aldis going, gentlemen, going out there and making a TLC match for SummerSlam. If you have a match in mind for the tag team division, do not put it on the SmackDown before or after SummerSlam. Do it at SummerSlam. They deserve to get on the SummerSlam card after you snub them from WrestleMania. Again, I can't say whether I got this right or wrong yet because of the timing of when I'm having to record this, but it's very much on the table. Tables, ladders, and chairs, possibly. The next one I tried to predict was a tag team match that I guess my logic was there. It ended up being executed, but not with the correct people. I predicted that we would get Penta and LA Knight going up against B&B Security. Now, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed do have a confirmed match at SummerSlam. At least Roman Reigns in his Twitter video said that, hey, this is the match that's going to happen against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. I think that if the Seth Rollins injury hadn't happened, that I was like mostly right. I think it was meant to be Jey Uso and LA Knight, and Yeet versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Now, Penta was in the picture and everything that was going on there with everything that happened at Night of Champions, with him going out there to attack B&B Security to help John Cena. So I don't think it was illogical to put Penta here in this position, but now seeing how things played out, I think it was meant to be LA Knight and Jey Uso in this position, but with Seth Rollins' injury, it pivoted the match away from Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and it sent Seth Rollins to a different matchup, which forced Roman Reigns to now have to come in and take a different match, and I think they just pivoted and took LA Knight out and put Roman Reigns in, which sucks for LA Knight because I think he's gonna miss SummerSlam because of the Seth Rollins injury. But yeah, I guess I got a tag team match for B&B correct, but the opponents I did not get correct. As of the making of this video, LA Knight and Penta do not have anything going on at SummerSlam, which is really, really sad because they're both super popular and super awesome. I then predicted that we would have a World Tag Team Championship match. You know what? I'm going to be so quick about this. I said the bum-ass New Day versus bum-ass A-Town Down Under. I don't know why I came up with this prediction. I just said, hey, whatever. Maybe they use this as a catalyst for the Austin Theory babyface term. Foolish me, right? For thinking that Triple H would actually pay off the Austin Theory babyface term, because here we are. Austin Theory is hurt. Grayson Waller has officially turned on Austin Theory, and that was the payoff of everything, of this like year-plus long story arc of will he, won't he turn babyface. And then there's the New Day, who lost the world tag title. So this isn't even like 0% right. This is like negative percentages of correct. I got every little detail about this wrong. As of right now, the world tag titles aren't even on the card. I don't think that they're going to be. The New Day aren't even champions. I don't think they're going to be on the card. A-Town Down Under ain't even a tag team. I don't think either of them are going to be on the card. So yeah, this was a wash. We then had the Women's World Championship match. And I mean, listen, I have to take partial points here because I predicted that we would have Io Sky as Women's World Champion just going up against Rhea Ripley. And my logic is, bro, they got nobody else. This is like the only two that are main eventers on Monday Night Raw that aren't named Becky Lynch, who's busy doing something else that would make sense for a match at a big show. And again, I made this prediction before their match at Evolution got confirmed. So I got this right. My logic was correct. There's no one else for Io to go up against. It's just that they ended up doing it at Evolution. They ended up having the match of the year, in my opinion. And then we had the cash-in. So now Io Sky ain't even champion. And we do have them both in a world championship match, but it is the triple threat involving Naomi as the champion. So whatever, dude. My logic was completely on point with the reason as to why I said Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky. So many people just said, hey, Zadi, that's boring, that's lame, come up with something else. I'm like, I'm not trying to come up with my perfect card. I'm trying to come up with a realistic card. But here we are. The match did happen at Evolution. These two are in a match against each other, but it's a triple threat match, and neither of them are the champion. So a lot changed, but also not that much. Here's where I definitely got this wrong. I predicted that we were going to get CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. My mind was telling me that Roman Reigns was not going to be on the card at all. I thought that he was going to be too busy, Hollywood, new kid, etc. I really thought that Roman Reigns was not going to be at SummerSlam. And I thought that the next best thing for both of these guys would just to have a grudge-filled match finally at a PLE, one-on-one against one another. But obviously this has all gone out the window. Seth Rollins busted his knee. He's out. He's not on the SummerSlam card. Probably won't be on the WWE picture for months. Who knows? Maybe even close to a year because of this injury. And then we have CM Punk, who won a gauntlet match to become the World Heavyweight Championship #1 contender. And now we're getting CM Punk versus Gunther. So I got this wildly off because even if Seth Rollins didn't get hurt, I think it would have been Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns either way. So I don't think that the injury technically impacted this from being correct. I think that it was incorrect from the get-go. And then I predicted the WWE Undisputed Championship match. I said it was going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. Listen, the story that they were telling post King of the Ring, and again, I predicted this like the day after the King of the Ring Night of Champions show, was that it looked like Randy Orton was not done with Cody Rhodes, that Randy Orton still wanted a piece of Cena, that Randy Orton might be turning heel, and I thought he would find a way, like the snake that he is, to slither into a triple threat match against these two guys. But here we are. We are still getting John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. However, it is now a street fight, and I would have never been able to predict this. We have Randy Orton teaming up with Jelly Roll to go up against Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. If some YouTuber, managed to come up with that prediction, then they're God. No one in their right mind, no one with a sane brain would have predicted that Randy Orton was going to team up with Jelly Roll. I think that this is way better. This is an infinitely much better option. But whatever, man. So long as Jelly Roll does a double shooting star press, then I'm guessing that it'll be all worth it in the end. All right, folks, that's it. Again, there's a bunch of videos that are being pre-recorded. I would have done this earlier than usual, but that's it. I'm done. Get out of here.